If I can figure out how to do this. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, great. I'm just going to get you set up with a clicker here. Hey, before I get started, I'm going to tell a story here in just a minute about how I got started in the real estate business. I didn't have any education whatsoever, and I kind of stumbled my way through it. So that access pass that Nick was just talking about, I think he said $500 or something like that. That is well worth it. Definitely, I'd highly recommend, if you're serious about buying some houses this year, definitely take advantage of that access pass. So anyway, I got to do a quick disclaimer. The information in this presentation is for informational purposes only. It is not intended to substitute for legal, financial, or professional advice. My wife made me put that in. So I'm Bryan Schroeder. So as you probably can tell already, I am definitely not a professional speaker. I'm a real estate dude. That's what I do. This is really my first speaking gig that I've ever done. I've been on some panels of experts before and stuff like that, but this is my first official speaking gig, so we'll see how it goes. I grew up in Iowa, on a farm, northern Iowa. I knew that wasn't for me, so when I graduated from high school, I went to college, because what else do you do when you graduate from high school? So I went to Iowa State University, I honestly didn't have a clue what I wanted to do, so I got a degree in aerospace engineering. Sounded kind of cool, but I got a degree, came down here to St. Louis, working for McDonnell Douglas. I'm a rocket scientist, so it's good for jokes, but it's really not that entertaining as a job. So, I lasted about 4 years. While I was at McDonnell Douglas, I kind of stumbled into buying my first house, and the way I bought my first deal was 1993, so a long time ago. How it happened for me is I was kind of thinking about buying a house, and I told one of my buddies about it. And one day he called me up and he said his neighbor was losing their house to foreclosure. And the neighbor told him that his lender actually told the dude that, see if you can find a person to buy the house. So he did. He told his neighbor, the neighbor told me, and I was in, so I went over and looked at the house that night. This was a house in St. Charles County off of Jump Station Road, if anybody knows where that is. So I knocked on the door, the dude said, introduced me, or welcomed me in and stuff, and I went in his house, and I could see why his house was in foreclosure. The house smelled horribly like cats. He had tons of cats, cat urine all over and everything. He was kind of it was a family, I keep saying he, but he did have a wife and kids that actually lived in the house. And they had clothes all over the place and stuff, and obviously just didn't maintain the house at all. It was deteriorated quite a bit. So he showed me around the house. Actually, it's kind of a funny story. When we walked into the master bedroom, in his underwear and sock drawer was a new litter of kittens that were just born the night before. That's the story. Anyway, I had no idea. I didn't know anything about real estate. But I wasn't afraid, I guess. I just kind of jumped in. He said the bank wanted an offer, so we went up to Office Max that night and got a contract, contract off the shelf at Office Max. And we wrote up a contract for $50,000. Honestly, I don't even know what he owed on it, but it was a lot more than that. We submitted the offer for $50,000 to the bank. This was actually Washington Mutual, when Washington Mutual was still around. The person I was talking to was in Los Angeles, California. And so how we submitted the offer, they said that they needed to send out a BPO or an appraisal. If anybody does short sales today are not what short sales were 20 years ago. So essentially the bank walked us through doing a short sale. But we submitted the offer. They sent out a BPO to look at the house. We met the BPO there. He actually was kind of discussing with the house himself. I kind of told him what the offer we were putting in at. We made friends. He said he'd try to help me out. So that's kind of how it went. Then about 2 weeks later, I got a call from the bank. They said, "Sorry, Mr. Schroeder, I can't do $50,000." So I said, "Well, what can you do?" And the person I was talking to said, "Well, it's got to be in the range between $60,000 and $72,000." So I said, "So are you telling me that if I submit an offer for $70,000, they'll accept it?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Are you also telling me that if I submit an offer for $60,000, they'll accept it?" They said, "Yes." So, seriously, that's how it went. So I submitted an offer for $60,000, closed about a month later, and this was back before I knew a darn thing. I grew up in Iowa on a farm, so I kind of was handy. I could do things. So I moved in, re-upped the house over the next several months, and lived there for about a year. I put it up for sale, and then I sold it for $117,000 about a year later. So that was my first gig. Kind of got me hooked a little bit. So that's how I got started. At the time, I didn't know how to get into it full time, but I knew I didn't want to be a rocket scientist anymore. So I quit that job, and I actually went to work as a real estate appraiser. I worked for about 8 years, and believe it or not, a buddy that I worked with clear back in 1994 is in the audience tonight, Ken Swenson. We worked at Vader and LeGrand together back in 1994. So that's kind of, so for the next 8 or 9 years, I was a real estate appraiser full time. I bought and sold houses on the side. And then in 2002, started FasterHouse, went full time. I had a partner at the time, his name's Jim Stigemeyer. Jim and I bought a lot of houses together. Jim has since kind of moved on to a different gig, so company, my wife and I are kind of together now. And Jim's moved on, doing what he's doing. So up to this point, I think I flipped around 1,000 houses. Haven't kept track, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood. And right now we have a rental portfolio of 150 houses. So why am I here today? Just to have some fun. Nick called me up and said, "Would you have any interest in doing this?" And I said yes. So I had to come up with a program. So that's what we got. I have nothing to sell, so you don't have to worry. I'm not going to be asking anybody to run to the tables over here at the end of the program or anything like that. I have nothing to sell. What I would like to teach you a little bit about is our company, and we love to work with some of you. So if there's any bird dogs, wholesalers, rehabbers, or landlords in the audience, I'm talking to you guys. We'd love to work with you. I'd like to share a little bit about how FasterHouse is set up and what we do. And I'm going to give you some specifics in the form of a case study. And I actually practiced this presentation last night to my wife, and it was an hour and 10 minutes long. So that's about how long I have to speak. So if you can just hold the questions to the end, I do have plenty. I'm not going anywhere until Nick picks me up. So I'll answer questions at the end. So just write them down, and I'm going to keep moving along here. Okay, so Nick tells me I got a pointer here. Oop, I do. So anyway, that's me. This is my company right now. This is who works for us. So that's me in the middle there. That's my wife Debbie right there. So kind of how our business is set up is we have a flipping business and we got a property management business. Our flipping business buys and rehabs and wholesales houses, and our property management business manages our own rental properties. We don't manage for other people outside. So that's me. I'm kind of the buyer, one of the buyers for our company. It's my gig. Right there, that tall, bald-headed guy there in the back, a lot of you know him, that's Phil Vincent. He's one of our buyers. Right there, guy peeking behind our window there, that's Nathan Marlowe. He's a buyer for me also. He's been with me quite a few years. And right there, behind, peeking through the corner there is Brad Brewer. He's another one of our buyers. So the four of us buy properties. Then in our rehab business, the tall dude with the yellow shirt, that's Tim Baker Brady. He, whenever we buy a house that we're going to rehab, he manages the rehab. So he's not out at the site every day, with a hammer and a screwdriver or anything. He manages all of our subcontractors, making sure their projects are moving along and stuff. And then when Kim's done, Claire's right there. She's peeking through there. Claire is she's our designer and our listing agent. Tim doesn't have any style or trendy skills, whatever you want to say. So Claire does that. She picks all the colors and cabinet choices and all that type of thing. Let's see, property management business, my wife Debbie, she kind of manages that side of the business. Heather here is our leasing agent, and Heather also does marketing for both our rental side and our flipping business side. Lori here answers all the phones, kind of office assistant. And Patty here, she's our accounting. She pays all the bills, that type of thing. And Glenn here over on the end, he's the one that gets all the calls from the people that have the broken toilets. He's a property manager. On the property manager side, if anybody has maintenance issues. So if the roof's leaking in the middle of the night like it was 2 nights ago, he was out there putting a tarp on the night at midnight. So he's got that job. Glad it's not me. This is our office building. We have an office out in St. Charles, 920 First Capitol Drive. If you ever want to come by, I'd love to see you. I'm going to move around a little. I feel like I'm looking around the same way all the time. So what do? Basically, for the most part, we do 3 things. We do wholesaling, we do rehabbing, and we do landlording. So wholesaling is basically when you get a property under contract, at a significant discount, and you either assign that contract to another buyer, like a landlord or a rehabber or something, for a fee, or a lot of times we do double closes, where we get a house under contract, we go to closing, maybe we buy it at 50 and we resell it that same day for 55 and make that spread, that $5,000 spread. That's what wholesaling is. Rehabbing is buying a house, buying a house at a discount, usually need work, rehabbing it, get it in excellent condition, and selling that property on the retail market. And landlording, that's pretty self-explanatory, just renting out single-family houses or duplexes, 4 families, that type of thing. What we don't do is we don't do creative financing. I know a lot of people teach that, subject to sandwich lease options, things along those lines. We don't do any of that. Did a little bit a long time ago. It's just not my gig. We don't do commercial. It's just, again, I just don't know anything about it, so it's not my gig. Other than the office building, that we own our office building, but that's the only commercial I have. And we don't do traditional real estate, like Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, where they represent somebody else to buy or sell a house. We don't do any of that stuff. It's just not our gig. So I'm going to talk a little bit about different skill sets and personality types for wholesalers, rehabbers, and landlords. Because a lot of people over the years have asked me, where should I start? If I'm starting in this business, should I start wholesaling or should I start rehabbing? And I think it depends on what kind of skill set you have, what kind of personality you have. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight. So what makes a fantastic wholesaler? Wholesalers got a personality. I found the good ones, they're a little bit of a salesperson personality. They're always networking. They love talking to people. They really get excited about the art of the deal. They really love the rush of buying or selling a house. They live in the moment. They're not thinking 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road. That's some other time. They're living in the moment today. They're excellent at marketing and networking. That's what you got to be really good at if you're going to be a wholesaler. They're pretty good at determining ARVs. ARV is after repaired value, what a house will sell for in the retail market. You got to be pretty good at that. You don't necessarily have to be as good as maybe a rehabber does. They have to be pretty good at estimating repairs. Again, you don't have to be necessarily right down to the last dollar or two. As long as you're within 10% or something, that's usually good enough for a wholesaler. And they got to know some excellent cash buyers. Where are they going to take their properties once they get them under contract? So wholesalers must be excellent at marketing. I talked a little bit about that. I'm just going to go over this really quickly because like Nick's got a program here that he's selling that he goes into much more detail about marketing. I could talk for an entire weekend about marketing for real estate investment, but and also tell you, there's a lot of information out there on if you just do a Google search for real estate investment marketing, or get on, there's a lot of podcasts out there, or blogs, or websites out there. Bigger Pockets is one of the better ones out there. They can go into a lot more depth, but we at FasterHouse, we buy about half of our deals from other wholesalers. So just networking with other people in the business, that's our number one source. We still do Yellow Pages. Don't get a lot off of that. We do get a lot off of our website. Yellow Pages, some of these things cost a fair amount of money. So if you're new to the business, you probably want to start with something that's a little less expensive. If you got a website out there, you got to have good SEO to get people to the website. If you got a great website out there but nobody sees it, doesn't do you a whole heck of a lot of good. And we got a lot of video on our website too. Video is important these days. Google AdWords, Facebook, we do a lot of Facebook. Other real estate agents. If you're new, that's a great place to start, because real estate agents get in front of deals, and it doesn't cost anything to just do a lot of networking with real estate agents. Short sales, we do short sales way different than we used to, but short sales is still a good source. Direct mail, that's probably one of the best sources for somebody that's new. It's fairly inexpensive, and we do a lot of direct mail ourselves. Bandit signs, that's one that's cheap, easy. We don't do bandit signs ourselves, but have in the past. Bird dogs, church bulletins. We've done Catholic church bulletins in the past. It works pretty good. Driving for dollars. That's kind of just like get a door hanger flyer or some kind of flyer that you can have in your car at all times. And if you ever see a house that just looks like its landscaping's way overgrown and looks dilapidated, just run up there and put a hanger on the door. Billboards, that's kind of the home investors thing. They do a great job with that. I don't know if most other people want to get into that. Craigslist, believe it or not, we buy a couple houses a year from Craigslist. Window stickers, that's kind of the thing right now. We buy houses signed in the back of the windshield. T-shirts, I'll tell you a quick story about T-shirts. Actually, I got a T-shirt here. We got, I don't know if everybody can see this, all right? Just a FasterHouse shirt. So we buy houses faster and easier on the back, and has a phone number. But we've given out tons of these shirts. A lot of people, especially our subcontractors and just folks that we work with where I'm around a lot. But a few years ago, I was out at a house, and when I was walking around talking to the guy about just building rapport and stuff, I was just kind of talking to him about, hey, how'd you guys find out about us? And this guy said, well, yesterday morning I got up and my wife had a shirt on, and I got your number off the back of her shirt. I said, well, where did your wife get one of my shirts? And he said she bought it at a garage sale on Saturday. So I had to ask, how much did you pay for it? It was 10 cents. So I paid 10 cents for this is what this shirt is worth, 10 cents. Anybody want a 10-cent shirt? There you go. All right, so there's lots of ways to do marketing to find deals. So I'll go through this real quick. A couple of keys to marketing is be consistent. Do it always. Be always marketing. I really recommend to focus. Find a few methods that work for you or your personality style, your skill set, and then just become really good at it. I know people in the St. Louis metro area that just do bandit signs and make a living off of it, or just do direct mail and make a living off of it, or just do short sales and make a living off of it, or just network with real estate agents. Every one of those four, I can name a name that just does that, and they make a living, full-time living off of real estate investment by just doing those things. So just get good at something and continue to do it. Set aside a little bit of profits from each deal for your marketing. It just makes sense. Create tons of activity. That's really what it's all about. Become an excellent networker and put in lots of offers. And this is just kind of a rule that I put together for myself a long time ago, and it's just become a habit. But I don't go home on Friday unless I put in 3 to 5 offers that week, and 3 to 5 offers to motivated sellers. And if I haven't done it, I don't go home. So I just make sure I get 3 to 5 offers in every single week. And if you do that, you buy houses. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple case studies. This is a case study on wholesaling. This is a house out in St. Charles that we bought just about a month ago. You can tell it was pretty dilapidated. I don't know if you can see the photos very good, but it hadn't been updated at all, hadn't been taken care of. It was a hoarder house. It was full of stuff. So the address is 105 Elmcrest Court in St. Charles. So how we found this lead, it's actually a tenant in our office building. He owns a computer company. His name's Bill. This was his mom's brother's house. And his mom was very embarrassed about the whole house. Anyway, so how it came about, Bill told me about it. They didn't know what to do with it. She was really, there was nothing owed on it, but except for several years of back taxes and a lien for the burial of the guy that died, her brother. I think it was like 20 or 25,000 in all. She was actually thinking about walking away from it and just letting it go for back taxes because she didn't know what to do. So I called her up, convinced her to let me come take a look at it. She didn't want me to because she was embarrassed about that her brother let his house become that way. But I talked her into letting me come over and take a look at it. It took several phone calls because she kept wanting to try to clean it up, but there was no hope in cleaning that house up before she let me look at it. But she finally let me come over and look at it. So talk a little bit about doing your homework before going over looking at a house. For me, before I go over and look at a house, I want to have a pretty good idea of what the ARV is, what the after repair value for that house is. So I always do a Google Maps, kind of get a picture of the house, so I got a good idea. And I'm a real estate agent, so I can look at comps in MLS. So I do like a quarter-mile radius search or that neighborhood search. I get a real good idea what the house would be worth fixed up before I go look at it. That's ARV. So anyway, then talk about viewing the property. When you go over and look at a house, she was real embarrassed. So I just tried to build a comfort level with her that, I do this, I run into things like this all the time. It's not a big deal. It's all as well. And I just built rapport with her. And so that's the biggest thing you're doing while you're looking at the house is just building rapport with whoever's showing you the house. People want to sell houses to people that they like, not somebody that's telling them all that, how in the world would you let your brother take care of a house? Like, that doesn't do you any good. They don't want to do business with somebody that's beating out their family or their brother or whatever. So build rapport, and then while I'm walking around the house, I'm filling out what I think the fix-up is going to be on the house. So by the time we're done walking around the house and stuff, I got the ARV done, I got the repairs number done, and these are just estimates. They're not perfect, but they're pretty good estimates. So then I can plug into my formula. The offer is going to be ARV times a discount percentage, and we use a discount percentage of somewhere between 70 and 80%, depending on what part of town we're in and what price range it's in and so forth. I guess on this one, I used the formula's down at the bottom there. I use 75%. The repairs on this particular house was about $40,000. So here, let me use my pointer here. So right here, this is how I made my offer on this house. ARV 135 times 75% minus 40 minus I wanted a wholesale fee of about 12 grand. So I offered $50,000 on the house. And when I made that offer, I thought for sure she was going to take it because she was talking about walking away from the darn house just 2 days earlier. But she was one of those people that just had a hard time making a decision. So I offered her $50,000. She said, "Do you think I should get some other people to come over and take a look at the house and make an offer too?" I said, "You're certainly welcome to if you want to." But in my experience, most of us investors are all going to come in about the same. So I mean, you can get some other people out here if you want to, but we're probably going to come in about the same. Just trying to make her feel better. So I gave her an offer that day for $50,000, wrote it up on a contract. She didn't accept it that day. this one took a long time. We just bought it like the end of June, but I think I first talked to her like in December, and then I followed up with her, and I think it was April when she finally decided she would sell me the house. So she signed the contract in April, and we closed in June because she wanted more time to. I think she would just go over there in the evenings and weekends and just look through the stuff to see if she'd find something that the family might want or was interesting. But when I went over there after we bought it, I don't think anything left, so at least very little did anyway. So anyway, got the house under contract. So when you're wholesaling, once you get a house under contract, you want to have an inspection clause in there. So I had an inspection clause in there within 7 days. Get my contractor through the house to make sure that the rehab is, within about the budget that I'm thinking. So I have that clause in there just so I could get another buyer in there to take a look at the house. So I called up. I knew, I've been in this business a long time, so I kind of had a pretty good idea who would want that house. So I called him up, and the first person I called said, "Yeah, I'm interested." He did a drive-by on it. After he called me back, said, "Yeah, I want to get inside." So we set up an appointment a couple days later for him to get inside. So anyway, I went back, asked her if I could bring my contractor back through the house. She said sure. So I went back over there with, his name's Tim. Went back over to the house with him. I kind of just handheld her to a certain extent. I just kind of made her feel comfortable. She was uncomfortable with me bringing another person in the house that she was kind of embarrassed about. But I brought him back. He did his walk around while I was talking to her. And then when we left, he said, "Yeah, I'm in." So where are we at? So I called my buyers list, found a guy that was interested to set up a time to went and view the property. Him and I went and looked at it together. He was in, so we wrote up a contract. So what I got at that point is I got a contract on the house between me and the seller, and then I just assigned that contract to the buyer. In this case, he paid an assignment fee of $12,000, and then at that point, it's his responsibility to close on the property on the closing date that the contract says. So you just kind of got to make sure that he performs on the contract, which he did, and then the day of closing, go out to the title company and pick up the check. So that's just a case study on wholesaling. So quick disclaimer. I'm going to put a disclaimer on all these just for kicks. Sometimes you pay too much for a house, and if you pay too much for a house, and you bring your buyers through, and they're all coming in at numbers that are below what you got it at, then you just got to walk away from the deal. That's why you got your inspection clause in there. So this particular deal, we made 12 grand on it. We don't make 12 grand on every deal, but this one did. It went pretty easy. All right, so let's talk a little bit about rehabbing. What makes a fantastic rehabber? Rehabbers love to be at the job site. They love to see the transformation. They have before and after photos of every deal. I'm not really a rehabber. I don't have before and after photos of any deal that we've ever done. Maybe one or two, but that's it. We do rehabbing, but that's just not my skill set. Good at managing jobs and people. Rehabbers know their rehab numbers because if you're going to put your money into it, you want to know pretty darn close exactly how much money you're going to be putting into it. They have a source for good rehab projects. I recommend if you're a rehabber, just find some excellent wholesalers and skip out on all the marketing. If that's not your skill set, just find a couple good wholesalers and treat them well. And they have a source to sell the retail properties. Usually it's a good real estate agent. A lot of rehabbers that I know actually just become a real estate agent so they can sell their own deals. So case study on a rehab project. This is a house that we rehabbed recently. It's down in Sunset Hills. These are the pictures of after it was done. I didn't have the before pictures, otherwise I would throw them up here. So it's 11,800 Crestwood Court in Sunset Hills. So this one came from a wholesaler that I know real well, Jeremy Velosich. And you never know where you can find a wholesaler at. I found Jeremy in my alley in 2007. We we both built houses a couple months apart, so we were neighbors. He lived 2 doors up from me. So that's where I found Jeremy. He was a real estate agent with Keller Williams at the time. He was real interested in real estate investment. So he'd come over every night and sit on my front porch and we'd talk about real estate investing. That was back in 2010. I think he lasted as a traditional real estate agent a few months after that. And then he's been doing a lot of different things in the investment world since. But Jeremy and I are good friends, and I bought a lot of houses from him over the years. So important thing if you're a rehabber working with wholesalers is do what you say you're going to do. If they, like in this particular case, the house was vacant, so he called me up about it. Said, hey, I got this house down Sunset Hills. Would you be interested in taking a look at it? I said, absolutely. And I said, when can you be there? I said, I'll be there this afternoon. And I just drove down there and took a look at it. A lot of times the houses are occupied. So if they're occupied, like I did in my wholesale example, you got to be a contractor when you're going through, or an appraiser, or whatever they set you up as. And never go around your wholesaler directly to the seller. You got to have integrity in this business. So anyway. That's that. So, I feel like I missed a thing. So, how this particular deal went, Jeremy called me up, had this house down Sunset Hills. He said he needed, I said, how much do you need for it? He said he needed $170,000 for it. Gave me the lockbox code. I went down to take a look at it. And I threw this in. This is my actual notes. I just take notes on a piece of paper. A lot of people create a cheat sheet, with all the things so they don't miss anything. I've been doing this long enough. I just fill out my notes. It's just a piece of paper that I had with me that day. So the rehab here, I'll just point it. Rehab on that deal, I ended up at $40,000. I looked at a house on March 28th this year. I had a rehab number at $40,000. I did my research before I went down there. I thought the house with the ARV was about $250. So this is just how I did it. 250 times 80%. In that area sells great. Lindbergh schools, I'll buy it 80% all day in Lindbergh schools in this price range. So ARV 250,000 times 80%, that's 200,000. I had a $40,000 fix. Subtract that off, 160,000. That's where I needed to be. So I called Jeremy up. He said he was asking 170. I told Jeremy I can't do 170. And Jeremy's lying. He's always got this line. He says, don't tell me what you can't do. Tell me what you can do. So I told him I can do 160. And he said he had a partner on the deal, so he needed to give him a call. He called his partner, called me back about an hour later, said, we got a deal, 160. So, okay, I guess I got some notes about how I did that. Yeah, pretty much I went over that already. Called Jeremy. He called me back, said 160 works, so we wrote up a contract. I didn't have any idea what he had it under contract for, but after we closed on it, I'm just always curious, a little curious anyway. So I look up the tax records. You can see, I'm going to get my pointer out here. Jeremy's company is 2 guys' properties. He paid $138,882. I paid $160, so he made a nice check that day. But I always remind people though, it doesn't matter what he paid for it. He made a nice check that day, but I got it for what I wanted it for. So it wouldn't have mattered to me if he made $5,000 or if he made $21,000 like he did. It doesn't matter. I got it for the price that I was happy with. So, and you can see here I paid $160 for it. Anyway, so rehab project. We sent the contract to the title company, got my financing in place. I always send a little packet over to my lender. They gave me financing, went to the title company, closed down the property. That process takes a few weeks. Got the keys to the property at closing. Then the next thing that we do after closing, first thing I do is I meet down at the property with my contractor, who's Tim, and my designer/agent, who's Claire. And this is how it goes. We walk through the house. I kind of give a vision of what I was thinking for the property. Claire gives her vision of what she's thinking for the property. Claire's vision always costs about twice as much as what my vision is. And Tim's got to figure out how to get it done where it's going to look great around the budget that I put together for the project. So that's how it always works for us. So we come up with a game plan and a firm budget. I say firm, doesn't always stay real firm, but we try to keep it fairly firm. And then after we do that walkthrough, Kim does his thing. That particular project I think took about 5 weeks. When he's done, Claire goes over and does a walkthrough to make sure she's happy with it, and then she stages it. Claire and I talk again about comps to see if we wanted to change list price at all. And then we throw it in MLS. Claire does the listing for us. This particular property is sold in 2 days. We listed it at $259,900. It was under contract in 2 days for $264,000. Now we were paying $4,000 for its closing costs, so basically it was a full list contract. I don't know. People in the back probably can't see this, but this is my QuickBooks report from when we sold it. We sold it for $264,000. This next line, it says construction acquisition costs. That's when we bought it. We had $161,928 into it by the time we paid our $160,000 and our lender's fees and our title fees and all that other stuff. Holding costs is $800. That's just like utilities, cutting the grass, things like that. Interest to the bank was $2,645 on this deal. Our rehab actually turned out to be $43,000. So we did overrun by $3,000. But that's not, we're within a couple of thousand, usually okay. And then the sales costs, that's real estate agents and closing costs and stuff like that. So we netted, our profit on that deal was $37,364. So we did pretty good on that deal. Let's, we don't do that good every time. I probably have a disclaimer coming up here. Yep. So we did pretty good on that one. That one was a pretty straightforward one. Sometimes, we do occasionally lose money on deals. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. It happened a lot in 2010 and 2007, but lately it's been pretty good. All right, so let me talk a little about landlording. Skill set for a landlord. They love strategy games. They're very long-term thinkers. If you're going to get in the landlord business, it's a long-term process. You don't get in the landlord business for a year or two. If you're going to get in the landlord business, plan on being in the business for 20, 30 years. Landlords are savers. Whenever we get a little extra money, we pay down a mortgage instead of going out and getting that yacht or that big car. Philip's a wholesaler. He's buying, what's that thing you're buying?
Only 25 grand.
Motorcycle. $25,000 motorcycle. Very disciplined investors. Landlords are disciplined. Good landlords are. Good landlords are good at managing people. They don't get flustered easily. It was easy to get flustered from between 2007 until 2012. Houses were going down in value. That's if you're a landlord, you're in for a long term. You ride through those things. Now they're going up in value, which is thankful. You don't get flustered when a tornado hits your house or a fire burns down your house. Or I got tons of stories. I don't have time for a bunch of stories, but tons of stories. Landlords have a source. A good landlord has a source to buy deals below market. Usually, and I think the best way to do that is just find some really good wholesalers. Landlords usually don't have the personality to do or the time to do a lot of marketing, but they can find some good wholesalers and have a source for property management. What's it take to last in the real estate business? Have a passion for real estate. Integrity, that's very important. Discipline, keep up with your marketing, keep up with the buy-in, manage your money well. Focus. Just find a few good things, like Nick was talking about this earlier. Find a few good things that you really like to do and just keep doing those. Don't get too scattered. Be a continuous learner. In this business, things change. Like I was telling you with short sales. Short sales aren't at all like they used to be. They're totally different. But you still make money in short sales. They're just totally different. So you got to keep up with whatever's the market is. Okay, types of financing to do deals. You can use your own money, save Family and friends, that's always a source. Partners, I know a lot of people use partners a lot. Hard money lenders, there's probably some hard money lenders in this room. Somebody say yes? That dude over there. So hard money lenders are great. I use banks. I've just always used banks. So for me, I've always found it to be the cheapest money around, and it works well for me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Tips for working with banks. If you're going to work with banks, you got to manage your finances. You got to have a good credit score. You got to keep good records. You know, when you're like I was showing you that QuickBook report on our deal. You know, if you're going to work with banks, you got to have good records for every deal you do and your taxes at the end of the year, all that type of stuff. Show that you make money on your tax return. Otherwise, they're not going to loan you money. Fill out a net worth statement annually. It's just something you got to do if you're going to work with bankers. Find banks that like to work with investors. When I first got started in this business, I went around and met with a lot of bankers, and I found that there's a lot of bankers that just don't want to work with the real estate investors. They don't want to work with landlords. They want to do something else. So don't beat your head against the wall trying to convince a banker that isn't interested in the flipping business that you're a great flipper, or you got a great deal, or you got a lot of money, because they don't care. They just find the bankers that like to work with flippers, that like to work with landlords, and just work with them. If you're going to work with a banker, you got to build a relationship. You can't just walk in the first day and expect them to loan you $1 million at 100% financing. You got to build a relationship, and meet with your banker regularly. And if you're doing really well, tell them you're doing really well. But if you're having a bad year or a bad couple months, tell them you're having a bad couple months. Just tell them the truth. Okay, so here's a couple of bankers that understand, and they're actually all in this room tonight. Doug Weber, where you at?
There he is.
There's Doug. Tim Nash, Tim's right here. Tim's at American Bank. Brad Schuster, where are you, Brad? Brad's over there. First State Community Bank. And Richard, where you at, Richard? Richard's over here. These are the bankers that I work with. They treat you well. Most of these guys are the decision maker. You don't have to submit an application and have an underwriter review it and all that other crap. They pretty much know if they're going to be able to give you a loan or not, or under what circumstances. Okay, so this is a little bit how our flipping business works today. Obviously, I built a relationship. When we buy a house, if I buy a house for $100,000, I can get a loan for $100,000 within a couple days. They charge me a half point up front and a half point per month. There's no appraisals, no surveys. We have access to several $1 million right now. Loans are commercial loans, which means they're in our LLC name. They're not in Bryan Schroeder's personal name. I do have to sign personally, guaranteed. But they don't, when I first started, I used to just go to a mortgage broker to get loans. And one day we ran our credit report, and we had like 12 loans on our dang credit report. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't want to do this all the rest of my life. So figured out how to work with local bankers, and they don't show up on your credit report. Rehabbing. Where do we get our money for rehabbing?
Right.
Yes.
I was just talking with a couple of people back here. That slide, a couple of slides ago with your bankers, that might have just changed my life right there.
Changed your life?
Yeah.
All right. Well, they're right here. Just talk to them.
Three of the people I was just talking to, yep, it just changed mine too.
Good. Well, they're here. They're willing. Bankers are willing to loan these days. They have plenty of money. They're here because they have loans to lend. But to people that we'll pay them back. All right. So, rehabbing. I throw this up as a tip. We still use this, but we also just use savings for our rehabbing money. But regional commercial banks, and when I say regional commercial banks, it's like U.S. Bank, Region. I don't know if Region's still around. PNC. We use PNC. If you got an LLC that makes money, you can walk into a regional bank and they'll give you a loan, unsecured, just a line of credit that you can draw off of. We use PNC. We got a $100,000 line with PNC. It's unsecured. It's not secured against anything. And we just use it as a line of credit. So if we're gonna rehab a house and the rehab's $30,000, we'll take out a $30,000 loan on that line, and then we'll use that for our rehab dollars. That's what works for me. We used to use some of these bankers that are in the room. They'll also loan you some rehab money, but it's a little complicated with dispersing and stuff, and I don't like complicated. I like easy. So we just use line of credit at PNC, how we do it. We use Nick Brunworth. Nick couldn't make it tonight, but there's his phone number if anybody wants to call him. Rentals. Okay, right now we have a portfolio of rentals that's worth about $12 million. One way to buy a $12 million worth of portfolio is to put 20% down on it. That would be like $2.5 million. I didn't have $2.5 million when I started this business. We started, to tell you straight up, but when I started this business, we maybe had a line of credit against our house for about 50 grand, and we maybe had $100,000 in an IRA. And I had good credit, you know, but I didn't have a lot of money. So how we built our portfolio, I'm getting ahead of myself here. The landlording loans, they'll generally lend up to 70 to 80% of the appraised value on a refi. 3 to 5 year term, 15 to 25 year amortization. Loan is in the name of an LLC. You have to sign personally against it, but they don't show up on your credit report. So how did we grow a $12 million portfolio? Right now we got 150 houses worth about $12 million. What we do is we buy the house buy a property at a flipping bank at a discount. It's key, you got to buy them at a discount. Then we would go to PNC, get a line to rehab the house, get it into rent-ready condition. Then we'd find an excellent tenant for the house, get them paying rent, and then we go to our refi bank and we just refinance the house. It's not a purchase at that point; it's just a refinance. And they'll generally loan 70 to 80% of the LTV of the house. So they'll send out an appraiser appraises the house. Whatever that appraisal comes back at, they'll lend 70 to 80% of the house. Now, if you bought it right and you rehabbed it right, hopefully you're into it for 70 to 80%, so you can get all your money back. That's what we did. We just did that over and over and over again. So, some lessons learned from doing that. One thing is properties can go down in value. You know, 10 years ago, people didn't think the houses ever went down in value. Well, they do sometimes. So if properties do go down in value, you have to be prepared when it comes to renewal time to either supply additional collateral or pay down the loan or whatever you need to do. So just throw that out as a warning, because I've been down that road many times. Be disciplined when buying. When I first started this business, I just bought everything because I just loved real estate. I just wanted to buy and build a nice portfolio. So I have some houses today that I wish I didn't have, just because I wasn't disciplined enough when I first started. So it's probably good to have some of those because it helps keep you disciplined. You know, whenever you're writing the checks for those ones that you don't really want, keeps you disciplined. Find someone excellent to manage the properties. Be prepared to be in for the long term. Understanding tax laws, and I could talk about this in great detail also, this whole slide. You know, just understand the tax laws, depreciation, 1031 exchanges. There's lots of things you can do with a portfolio of real estate. This next one is very important. Be sure that it always is cash flow positive. Always. If you ever run into a situation, when I first started, it was back in 2003, 4, 5. I just figured they'd appreciate it. If I ever needed some money, I could just sell it. Well, there became a time when they stopped appreciating. They started depreciating, and you gotta have your portfolio always, the entire thing, cash flow positive. And then once you get your portfolio built up, start paying it off as fast as possible. So I'm going to do a quick rental property case study. This is 13 Griffin. It's out in St. Peters. It's just a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. This is kind of how we spruced it up. We did change the kitchen cabinets. I don't know how well you can see that, but the cabinet's a little dated. But the house is very clean and functional, and but it's not top of the line. If we were going to retail this house, we would have definitely done it nicer. You know, we did put in new vanities, hardwood floors were finished, fresh paint, new light fixtures, that type of thing. Okay, so 13 Griffin, St. Peter's. Where I got this one is a wholesaler buddy of mine. His name's Jeff Garner. Jeff is a short sale expert, doing it the way you can do it today. So a short sale, a guy that's doing a lot of short sales, they need, when they first get a contract, get a house that they want to do a short sale on, they need an offer to negotiate with the bank on. So I work with a lot of short sale people, and I'm their offer. So as soon as they get a house, I run over there, take a look at it. You know, I run my formula just like normal. This particular house, the ARV was about 110, needed about 16,000 in repairs. So I just ran my formula. I offered him 64,000. So Jeff takes that offer of 64,000 and he submits that to the bank. And I do this with a lot of short sale experts or real estate agents that like to do short sales. I just put the offer in for them, and I tell them that if you get this negotiated at a price, at my price, done deal, I buy it, you get both sides of the commission, you get a short sale negotiation fee, that's how you make your money. If you can't get it negotiated at my price, the bank will at least tell you what price they'll accept, and I'll just back out, and you can put the house on the market and you know, probably find a retail type buyer or a landlord type buyer that's willing to pay a little bit more than us, and no harm, no foul. So I do that for a lot of people, and so in this particular case, I offered 64,000, and if you know much about short sales, you wait and you wait and you wait. So while you're waiting, go buy a few more other houses, and if it comes together, great. This particular one came together. Jeff called me up one day, said, "Hey, I got an acceptance on this one at your price." So I bought it. I got my financing. In this particular case, I got my financing from First State Bank. Did the title work, got everything in place. Went to the title company, closed on the property, got my keys to the property, and then how we do our rentals is instead of meeting, a contractor and designer agent out there, you meet your contractor and you meet your property manager. Come up with a game plan for what you want to do to the house and a firm budget. Let the contractor do his thing. Check in on him every once in a while. And when it's complete, you turn it over to your property manager. And then at that point, you decide on what you're going to ask for rent. I'm not going to get into great detail about it, but we do a lot of rent-to-owns. I can talk about that in more detail sometime if anybody wants to talk about it, but we do a lot of rent-to-owns. But so we decided how much we were going to ask for rent-to-own, and then you start marketing it. And you know, it's just we use probably the same thing most everybody uses. We use Postlets and Craigslist and throw it in MLS. And those sites will push it out to Trulia and Zillow and all those other sites. So bottom line, it gets your phone ring. So once the phone's ring, how we do our showing is a little different than some. So I'll just throw it out there so you can hear. Heather's our leasing agent now. So once she starts marketing it, her phone will start ringing off the hook. You know, if you're marketing it well, the phone will ring off the hook. And then. So all day long, she takes a call, talks a little bit about the house, says that we have applications and a flyer about our company out on the countertop of the house, the countertop of the kitchen out at the house. There's a lockbox on the front door. I can give you the code of that lockbox. You go out and take a look at it on your own time. When you're done, lock it up good for me and call me. Just let me know if this is a house that you're interested in or not. And then she gives her the lockbox code. That way you're not like meeting people out there all the time. You can run her, if you're meeting tenants out there, you drive yourself nuts. So we can show a lot of people a house quickly, get in a good application. So once an application comes in, we screen the app. Make sure that their income supports the rent, which we make sure their income is at least 3 times what the rental rate is. We check past landlord references. We check KSNAP for any criminal activity or anything like that, for judgments. We do run their credit, depending on where in town the house is, depending on how much we rely on credit. We do make sure that they don't have outstanding gas bills and electric bills, because then they can't get utilities in their name. Do that type of thing. And then the last thing that we always do is we always go look at the house that they're currently living in. It's kind of, the reason for that is if they're not taking care of the house that they're living in, they're not going to take care of your house. If they're taking care of the house that they've lived in for the last few years, they'll take care of your house. It really cuts down on the costs of the turnover when when that person moves out and you're going to re-rent it. So that's kind of our process. Approve the candidate, move them in. This particular deal, purchase price was $64,000, our rehab was $16,000. We had $80,000 into the house. We went to Tim Nash at American Bank, got it appraised, and he gave us a loan for $80,000, which meant we got pretty much all of our money back, and we did it again. So the day that we closed on that loan in 2012, we had an $80,000 loan. The value of that house at that time was about $110,000, so we were at an LTV of about 73%. Just 2 years later, that house, we paid that loan down to $76,000 right now today. That house has appreciated a little bit. It's up to worth about $125,000, so we're already to where the LTV on that house is about 61%. So if you're doing it right and the market is helping, as in appreciating, you can build up some equity fairly quick. I threw in the tax records on this one. Our company that owns rental houses is Orland Properties LLC, or one of our companies. You can see that I paid $64,000 for it in 2011, and down here at the bottom is mortgage history. So I got a loan from First State Bank for $64,000, and then a few months later I got a loan for $80,000 from American Bank, and I'm paying on that loan today. So that's kind of how it works. And then the cash flow situation on that particular house, you always want to make sure the cash flow. We're getting a rent for $1,100. We got a bank loan of $520 a month. Our insurance is $45. Taxes is $135. I throw $85 in there for our property manager. That's just he works for us, but all of the people that work in our property management department, it costs me about $12,000 a month, and if you divide that by the number of houses we have, it's about $85 a month. So that's where I got that number from. It's a rent-to-own, so there's really no maintenance because rent-to-owners are supposed to maintain their own properties. They don't call for all the maintenance issues. But if it wasn't a rent-to-own, I'd have a maintenance number in there. That particular house, cash flow is about $315 a month. So it's the kind of house I like. So a quick disclaimer, renters don't always pay. Renters don't always take care of the property, so you got to be prepared for that. Anyway, I guess that's about it there. I got a couple slides in here, things that I think are interesting. I don't know how well you can see this, so I'll kind of talk through it a little bit. But the last 10-year period has been an interesting period in the values of houses in the area. This is the median sales price. And median sales price is, if there's 1,000 sales that month, it would be, the highest one was $1 million and the lowest one is $1,000. It's the one in the middle. In St. Louis County, it's kind of like an average, but I think it's a little bit more accurate than averages. I've looked at averages too, but I think the median is a little bit more accurate. So in St. Louis County in 2004, the median sales price was $150,000. Kind of bumped up to about 160, 165, 170, kind of peaked out in 2007. Then 2008 was back to 150, 2009 back to 140. We had that tax credit in there. You remember that tax credit in 2010? Bumped up values a little bit. Then they came back down again. And now we're starting this upward trend again. And believe it or not, in St. Louis County, we're back above the peak of 2006-07. So our values have actually recovered pretty much in St. Louis County in general. Then I'm going to talk about St. Charles. If you look at the county as a whole, it's pretty similar. We had 175, got up to around 200,000, came back down to 175-ish, down to 160. Now we're on the road back up. We haven't quite got back up to the peak values yet, but we're pretty darn close. And we got a nice trend here for the last 4 years. So that's St. Louis County. But I'm looking for rental properties, so I like to look around to what different parts of the area are doing. This is Jennings, median sale price from 2004 to 2014. And this is Jennings, but you can put in here Normandy, Riverview, Spanish Lake. There's just so many areas that just haven't recovered at all. Jennings at this time, values in 2004 were in the mid-40s, got up to a little bit in low 50s, and then just had a huge drop. And basically the median value in Jennings right now is about 15,000, 16,000, and has been for 6 years, and doesn't show much sign of coming back. The one interesting thing about this is rents haven't changed much. So a house in this area, it'll cash flow great. Cash flows great all day long. So if you're just looking for a cash flow property, and there's a lot of people that are, and I have several of these, they cash flow great, but are they ever going to come back in value? Hopefully someday, but I don't see any signs of it yet. This is the trend that I kind of like. This is Hazelwood Central, Hazelwood West. There's a ton of people buying up there right now. I'm one of them. This is kind of Florissant and Hazelwood area, the western side of Florissant and Hazelwood. Back in 2004, 120,000, got up to around 130, and stayed that way. Then 2008, back down to 120. Came all the way down to the median price being in the $70,000 range. But we're starting to see an upward trend. Actually a pretty good bump the last 2 years. And I'm a believer that bump's going to continue for a little while. But what you can do is you can buy houses in this area for pretty much half of what they were 10 years ago. Rents haven't fallen any. Pretty much the same rents as they were before. So those houses are cash flowing a ton better than they used to 10 years ago. And I think you can not only get cash flow, but you get appreciation. So this is one of my favorite areas to buy. Rittner is kind of the same way. If you know Rittner, south of the airport, St. Anne, Oberlin, St. John, Woodson Terrace, that area. I think it's another great area to buy. Median prices were in the low to mid 80s back in 2004 through 7. Then they pretty much dropped by about 60%. 40% of what they were, into the mid to upper 30s. But we do have about a 3 to 4 year trend of them increasing, and I think that trend's going to continue. So I'm buying in Rittner. Those are a couple of areas that we're buying for our rental portfolio. So right now where we're at is we have a portfolio of about 150 houses. We're going to just kind of maintain that size for a little while. We are looking to consolidate and improve the portfolio. I got some houses, like I said before, that I wish I didn't have, so I'm trying to eliminate some of those. And we do a lot of rent-to-owns too, so when the rent-to-owns hatch, we want to replace them. We're getting rid of some of our real low-end houses, and we got some houses down in like St. Louis City, which is a long ways away from me because I'm out in St. Charles, or even we got a couple in Fenton. So we're selling some of our stuff that's farther away from the office, just to kind of consolidate a little bit. Where we're buying right now for our rental portfolio is 3-bedroom houses, got to be 3-bed, in St. Charles, Hazelwood West, Hazelwood Central, Rittner, and Pattonville. So if anybody's wanting to wholesale any houses in that area, please consider us. We'd appreciate it. Our flipping business, we pretty much buy in the whole metro area, on the Missouri side of the river. We don't go on the Illinois side of the river. So, so if you guys got any houses, pretty much anywhere in the St. Louis metro area on the Missouri side, and you're looking to wholesale, or if you know anybody, consider us. We buy about half, like I told you earlier, about half the houses that we buy from wholesalers. And then the other side of that is about half the houses that we buy, we sell to either rehabbers or landlords. So if you know anybody who's a bird dog, a wholesaler, a rehabber, or a landlord, ask them to get to know one of our buyers. And here's our buyers. Bill Vincent, Bill Vincent, the bald-headed dude there. Nathan, where's Nathan at? Nathan's one of our buyers. Brad, where you at, Brad? Brad's here. Brad's one of our buyers and myself. We're looking to flip about 100 houses this year, and we'll do it again next year, and we'll do it the year after that, and the year after that. Anyway, that's pretty much the end of my presentation. So does anybody got any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
She started over.
What areas are you flipping?
We pretty much do the whole metro area. Now, I'll tell you my favorite areas. You know, I was showing you those slides back there with the median house values. We do similar stuff like that with days on market for how fast houses are selling and how much competition there is in the market and stuff. So I'll tell you my favorite areas, but we buy in the whole metro area, so don't limit us to this. But my favorite areas are Baldwin, Chesterfield, Sunset Hills, Crestwood, St. Charles, Creve Coeur, Maryland Heights, because there's just not very much inventory up there. So if you got a good house, you make it nice, you price it right, it'll sell within a week or two. But we'll buy other places too, so don't just limit it to those areas. Anybody else? Yeah.
Back on the property, you said the woman was embarrassed.
Yes.
And you assigned that contract. How did you work in, how much time did you work in, and did you get any pushback from her on reassignment? And also the back taxes. I think you said they were back taxes.
Well, the back taxes were paid off at the title company at closing, because I don't remember exactly what they were, but they're like 12 grand or something like that. And she had another lien, so I think her liens in total were in low 20s. So we paid 50 for it. So obviously that was all paid off, and then she got the difference. As far as the assignment, most sellers don't even know. I don't know if she knew that we assigned that to that dude or not. The only way that she would actually know is if she went back into the tax records afterwards and saw a different company bought it, or on the HUD. Sometimes it'll show on the HUD. But most people don't even look.
But it was written into the contract that you had that opportunity?
Yeah, today I'm a licensed real estate agent, so I use a special sales contract. Probably lots of investors use that same contract. That's an assignable contract, so you don't even need to write it in. It says it right there in the fine print that, right in the typical wording. You're welcome. Yes?
Has the Dodd-Frank legislation affected the way you do your rent-to-owns?
Rent-to-owns, no. I don't, rent-to-own, I'm not an expert on the Dodd-Frank, but I have looked at it a little bit. And for the most part, my understanding is that has to do with if you're owner financing, you're actually financing the owner. Rent-to-own is more like a lease purchase contract.
A portion of your rent going towards their purchase price?
A portion of the rent does go toward the purchase price, but I don't know exactly the exact wording, but if your rent is a fair market rent and you're giving them a credit below that, that's allowed. I think, something along these lines. Look at my disclaimer. But my understanding is if the fair market rent is $1,000 and you're charging $1,400 and you're crediting them $400, I think that's where you get into trouble. Anybody else? Way in the back.
On your rent-to-owns, what do you look for a down payment? And also, are you actively pushing your tenant buyers to cash you out, or you just kind of let it happen organically?
Good question.
Bryan, could you repeat the question too?
Yes, he asked on our rent-to-owns, how much money do we get down payment up front, and are we actively looking for our rent-to-owns to actually cash this out? We are definitely actively looking for them to cash us out. Matter of fact, we go to pretty long lengths for that. We actually have them sign a coaching agreement when they sign up to be in one of our houses. They meet with a financial coach that's in our office about once a month, and we teach them basic skills of budgeting. We use Dave. Are you familiar with Dave Ramsey, Financial Peace University? We use that program to teach them budgeting skills, saving money. We run them through credit repair if they need to. We help them save for a down payment, or we get them into down payment assistance programs. So we handhold them quite a bit because the single biggest profit center in our company is our rent-to-owns actually buying the house that they live in. So we put some effort into it. We get a small down payment up front, the option fee. What we get is 2 months rent, which is low. A lot of people get much higher ones than that. The reason we keep ours low is because we want to do a lot of rent-to-owns. If you raise how much you're asking for up front, you're just limiting your pool of rent-to-own buyers. So that's how we do it. Yes?
Eventually, what percentage of those rentals end up buying?
Unfortunately, it's not as big as I'd like. It's probably, honestly, 25 to 30%. Okay, I'm sorry. He asked, of all the rent-to-owners that move into our houses, what percentage of them actually close on the house? And it's 25 to 30%. And we tried really hard to get it to be a higher number than that, but that's honestly what it is. When we give them 2 years to buy. Now, quite often we renew them. You know, if they pay in on time, we'll renew them and try it again. But within that 2-year time frame, it's about 25 to 30%. We tried really hard to get it higher than that. There's just so much that happens to a person. So many of them we think this person's going to be great, and then they get divorced, or life happens to people. This house was their dream house a year ago, and then life happens, and they buy a bigger house, because they got raisins. It's people. I don't know. It is what it is.
After the initial period, like the 2 years, then let's say they don't buy, do you renew so that they stay or they are out?
It depends on the situation. Most of them we renew, but we got one that's coming up at the end of this month that we asked her to leave because she was a pain in the butt. But most of them we renew. Yes?
How many of your houses are free and clear?
Right now, 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8. Not a lot. Gonna try to. He asked me how many of our houses are owned free and clear right now. We have loans on most of ours right now. We have, I don't know, it might be 6 or 7 right now, something like that. We own free and clear.
Who do you use for property management?
We do it in-house. He asked who we use for property management. And we do it in-house. It's just.
Well, who were you using when you were smaller? Obviously, you can do it in-house, but who were you using down when you were smaller?
Honestly, we tried a couple people. He asked other people that we've tried in the past. We tried a couple people. This was quite a few years ago, and we didn't have good results. I'll just leave it at that. Honestly, I'm a little bit of a control freak, and we expect high standards, and I just wasn't getting it. So we hired them and trained them. Yes.
When you purchase a home that's in a both good rental area and a good selling area, how do you differentiate between what you're going to do with the property? And have you ever, mid-rehab, switched your mind?
Did everybody hear that question pretty good? We probably have switched our mind in the middle of a rehab before, and I can't remember a specific house that we did that with, but yeah, I'm sure that's probably happened before. Today, we're pretty specific about what kind of house we're looking for a rental, so for the most part I know up front. In the past, should we just buy something and we try to rent it or sell it sometimes, you know, we've done lots of things in the past. But we definitely still buy houses in areas that I rent and just sell them. You know, we do a lot of that, you know, so, I mean, I'm looking for rentals in St. Charles and Rinder Schools and Florissant and Hazelwood, but we do a lot of wholesaling in those areas. Well, St. Charles, we do a lot of retailing, buy, rehab, and resell. Florissant, we haven't done that yet very much. We will when the market gets a little bit better probably, but to this point we've been doing, mostly when we get them under contract there, we just wholesale them to other landlords. But we definitely do a lot of that. Go ahead.
For your rentals, who do you use for your insurance company?
John Micah with Shelter Insurance. John's here. Where are you at, John? That dude right there. I think,
Thank you, Dad. He's our newest vendor.
Okay. Are you an insurance guy?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Landlord.
Okay.
If you were getting started in real estate investing at this market time now, maybe looking back on your own history when you first got started, what are some things you would say don't do?
And for rentals, is that what you said? Or just in general?
In general, but I mean, when looking at the first couple of properties you're buying, I mean, what are some things that, you know, some home mistakes that maybe you may have done that, what are some things that you got to really careful not to do?
For rental, I wouldn't buy any one bedrooms. I got a couple of those for some crazy reason. I have no idea why.
Basements.
Yeah. She said basements. So the question was, what would I not do if I was going to start over now? That some of the mistakes that I've done in the past that I've learned from. I'll tell you the biggest one probably is the biggest times that I've gotten hurt, put it that way, is when you're in the middle of a rehab, or when you start a rehab project. I always, you know, I go out and look at a house, and I do a very quick rough estimate of what the rehab's going to be. But now, before we actually start a rehab, we come up with a pretty firm budget. And if that firm budget isn't within our numbers or percentages, we cut the loss right then and there before we start rehabbing the house. Because my biggest losses have been in houses that we bought and rehabbed, and the rehab budget just got out of control from things that we didn't see up front. And we just kind of rushed into it, honestly. Anyway, that's probably one. But yeah, the rentals, don't buy one-bedroom rentals. I don't like them. I don't like a rental that doesn't get at least $900 a month anymore, because it's just the margins aren't there on the you know, there's a lot of houses that will rent for $650 or $700 or $750 in the lower end neighborhoods. I found that I get better cash flow paying more for houses and getting rents that are $900, $1,000, $1,100, $1,200, $1,300. Even though you got a bigger mortgage, the spreads are bigger, and especially in today's low interest rate environment. If that changes, maybe it'll change a little bit. But I don't know if that helps.
Two more questions.
Two more questions.
Brian?
Oh, okay.
Hey, you said you use video on your website.
We do.
How's that been effective for you at all? I'm just curious.
Oh, the biggest number one thing is I started doing most of our videos. Now our other buyers have done videos more recently, but we got people coming into our office all the time saying, I want to talk to the dude on the video. And they won't talk to anybody else, you know. Unless they see me, because my face is on the video, they don't want to talk to anybody else. So yeah, video is very powerful. Most video that we do, you know, we talk about our company on it. These are just little short 3-4 minute, sometimes it's 2 1-minute videos. We got a lot of testimonials. We try to get testimonials every time we buy a house. So we got a lot of testimonials, video testimonials, right there at the closing table. Those are very powerful. And if you go on our website, website, you'll see a lot of these, but we do what we call real life stories. And it's just to create content on your website. But every house you buy has a story to it. And people that are sitting at home thinking about buying a house, if they can relate to one of those stories that somebody's telling or that we're telling about how the house went, that's powerful. So yeah, we use a lot of video. It's effective.
You're all right with me, Bryan.
All right. One more. Anybody got one? I think we're getting one short.